With us now, Democratic Governor of Montana, Brian Schweitzer. Thanks very much.
I need some money.
Could I have some too?
You got extra money, right?
Right.
The reason we have money in the bank is we said no to everybody that asked for it. Now, don't be asking for it.
Damn! Now, Joe, you could learn a thing from the governor.
Yeah,
Did you see that? How do you do that?
So let's explain this really quickly.
No.
It's no. So you do the introduction, and you got money. You've got a surplus. You're one of 2 states that have a surplus in the United States. How do you do it, Governor?
Well, I hadn't been elected to anything before I was elected to governor.
Right.
So I had to learn real fast. There's an infinite number of good ideas. They all cost some money, a finite amount of money. So I thought of 101 ways of saying no nicely.
Isn't that nice?
That's the way you keep money in the bank.
So he's not a career politician. That's the answer, right?
Tom, you are a son of Montana, or at least an adopted son of Montana. It's pretty radical thinking for the rest of the country.
Well, but that's typical of Montana. I mean, that really is reflective of the culture out there. And this is not a state in which they do wild and crazy things when it comes to the expenditure of their money. I mean, people count their pennies very carefully. You can ask them what the price of, for example, a feeder calf is at any given moment, and they'll tell you to the decimal point where they are. And when it comes to any decision that they make, he has a very lively state legislature. What's the division now?
It's about 50-50.
Yeah, it pretty well reflects the
half
state.
Crazy, half not.
So what do you say no to?
Well, we say yes to education. We say yes to higher education and K-12. We say no to pork barrel stuff. I mean, every legislator comes to town and they want to get reelected by a new bike path or a new roof in their own community. When times are good, you've got money for those sorts of things.
But these are not good times. Were there some difficult no's there, and what were they?
Well, there's difficult no's. We've said to state employees no raises for a few years. I've asked the people of Montana to give me ideas on how we can even cut more, and I've got more than 1,000 good ideas. I have a palladium coin worth almost $600 that's going to go to the best idea voted by the people of Montana. So we've managed to find 5% here, 8% there, 10% there. You whittle and you cut just a little bit. Just like every small business and every large business in America, we found ways of delivering the same product for less money.
How's your economy? What's your unemployment rate?
7.1%. It's less than the national unemployment rate, but you know the recession landed in Montana too.
Yeah, and what about regional issues? Hasn't he been out front on a lot of regional issues?
Well, I think that the Western governors get a lot of credit for that. More than any other region of the country that I know of, they get together and work across party lines because there may be a dotted line on the southern end of Montana where it bumps up against Idaho and Wyoming, but the fact is that those issues cross those lines very quickly. So, Brian, Governor, I can't pretend like I don't know him, but it has been fairly remarkable about how Dave Friedenthal is a Democrat in Wyoming, Butch Otter, who's a Republican in Idaho, you're a Democrat in Montana, but when it comes to common causes, you work together better than almost any group of politicians that I know in the country.
Water, wildlife, and energy, that sums up the West. We were talking about energy here just a little bit ago. And, you know, oil is about trains, planes, and automobiles.
Right.
Nukes are about electricity. And until we have electric cars, that's a completely separate issue. Oil's going to run our trains, planes, and automobiles. Nukes, wind, coal are going to be our electrical supply. So until we have electric cars that can run on coal and nukes, we're still talking about oil. So in this country, whether we drill it or blow it or grow it or react it or save it,
right,
it's about American energy designed by American engineers.
What can Washington learn from Montana when it comes to the budget issues?
Buy what you need, not what you want. You can please people by running government the way they run their own business. You can't bribe people with their own money anymore. They're smarter than that.
That sounds like a personal
John Harmon, that's hopeful.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, and common sense, it sounds like to me. But I want to ask you, Governor, you got the biggest thing that's happened in the federal government in the last 15 months, a big Obama health care plan, Democratic health care plan. What's that going to do to all this money you've got in the bank? Are you worried about the costs that are going to be shifted to the states as that plan goes into effect over the next 3 or 4 years?
You know, the Democrats and Republicans both have this bill wrong. The Democrats say, it's the greatest thing that happened to health care in 50 years. Republicans say, it's going to destroy health care as we know it. It didn't do either. It's a little bit of insurance reform. It didn't challenge the underlying costs of health care in this country. It didn't challenge the pharmaceutical companies, the medical medical device companies, and it forced the government to pay private insurance companies for another 30 million people to go on insurance, and we didn't challenge those costs. The problem with healthcare in this country is we pay more than all the rest of the industrialized countries, and as long as we have the pharmaceutical industry that runs Congress, we're going to get the same result.
What's the impact of the health care going to be in the fall elections in Montana?
Almost nothing. There's a lot of yammering about it, but issues in Montana are going to be local issues. It's going to be about jobs. It's going to be about wildlife, water, and energy. That's what we do in Montana.
Let's talk about the health care bill, though, and where John was going with it. I've heard a lot of states complain about a mandate, a Medicaid mandate, and that states are going to be strapped with a big bill in the future. Are you concerned about that?
It's kicked down the road. And if you believe that this bill's not going to change between now and 17, 18, and 19 when a lot of this kicks in, then you're smoking your belly button, Lynn.
Yeah, well, and by the way, for the record, I have not done that since the summer of 97. So,
mental image.
Yeah, there you go, Tom.
Didn't you go to rehab for that,
That's Governor. Well, I did, because some people actually get hooked on it. It's a gateway to far more dangerous
I like
limbs.
him.
In fact,